So, okay, so you know a lot of people on Broadway. Do you hang out with, like, are these your circles of actors, Broadway actors? Who's in your circle?
Who's in my circle? Well, right now, my circle is quite small because I have a little one. And I think when you have small children, your world just kind of innately gets like this. So I spend most of my time with an almost 4-year-old. And it's the best. And it's all the things. It's hard. It's wonderful. It's profound. And my husband. But that's a funny question because I spent my 20s on shows that were really concentrated and took a lot of time. I was on broadcast television. We were doing 22
Glee.
Glee and Supergirl.
And Supergirl, right?
And we were doing 22 episodes a season. That's 10 months of your year. And Supergirl was up in Vancouver. So it was a really concentrated, like almost bubble that we were in up there for all of the shows on the Arrowverse. And it was really demanding. The job was really demanding for me. And so most of my time was spent on set. So my circle up there was that cast and those people and that crew. And it was 6 years of my life, Supergirl was. So when I was done and I moved back to LA, I almost had to, in essence, like build up a new community because I'd spent so much time out of the country and working so much that I hadn't really been able to cultivate new friendships. And I have, old friends from childhood that are like my true blue. But yeah.
So it's hard to cultivate a new community.
Yeah.
At any
especially in
age.
Los Angeles. It's a really hard
Do you think
city.
it's harder in LA?
I think so, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Everyone's so it's a city that's easy to be isolated in because we're driving everywhere. There's a lot of traffic, so getting anywhere is really difficult. Like if I have a friend that's on the west side, more often than not, I'm never gonna see them.
Yes.
You know,
It's the fact.
Like I'm on the east side, I can't drive an hour and a half to go to dinner.
Right.
If I do, I really love you.
Right. That's really a sign that our friendship is good.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm going both ways, too.
Yeah, totally.
And there's at least one of those ways is going to be full traffic.
Yes.
At like 10 different points.
Yes. Throughout the day.
Yes.
Even when there shouldn't be traffic.
Right.
So just logistically, it's harder to maintain the friendships and the community. And also, this is a city that I feel like you find people in the pockets or like in unexpected ways. I don't know if that was you said you recently moved here?
Yeah, I just moved last summer, so I've been here less than a year.
Oh, great. And
but
how
I've
are you
been
finding
coming here, here and there for years to tape my show. So like I was based in New York, my show was taping there, and then I'd come to LA maybe 3 or 4 times a year for a week at a time. I'd interview a bunch of people, and then that was that. So it's not like I wasn't here before, but I think I have the opposite experience of a lot of people. I find it easier here to connect with people. It's so strange. I almost can't explain it, but maybe it's because of I wanted to be here so much. I was really ready because so much goes on in terms of people are creating things all the time here.
Yeah.
People are passionate about things. There's a lot of projects in the works. And so the weather is so nice. So people are outside a lot. Like people are happy to sit on the sidewalk at a cafe and have a cup of coffee. Like that's my thing too. So I think I initiate a lot of it. So I'm like, oh, let's get coffee. I'm going to be on your side of town. Or do you want to meet in the middle? And so people are, like, it's been good for me.
That's good.
So I do like that, but I totally understand what you're saying. But for me, I just feel like I guess I'm maybe attempting more. I'm putting myself out there a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah, and I think that's the key in this city. And I think that took me a long time to learn. Was that you really have to be the one to open the doors and to like initiate the connections.
Totally. And so in life, you have to be the one.
Yes.
I really feel like that applies to everything.
Everything.
And it's like when you realize it, it can shift a lot of things.
Yep. Agreed.
Right. And I think, like, believe me, I would love it if everybody was constantly like, oh, Kara, let's go, whatever. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. But like sometimes, yes, but a lot of the times I am the initiator and everybody's happy to go along and do it. But I've kind of slipped into that role, but that's okay because that makes things happen. So yeah, it is interesting. It's funny. I just said my name and I was going to say to you in the beginning, by the way, I'm Kara. Because so are you in a way.
I was, yeah,
but
for a long time.
But it was pronounced different.
Kara. Yes. You don't have the Zor-El.
Right. So I had John Cryer was on my show.
I love him.
He's
I adore
great.
him.
He was on recently. And I remember him asking me, okay, how do you pronounce your name? Because it was very specific. People would get really upset.
Oh, yeah. People would get really upset.
They would get really upset if what? If somebody, people, who would get upset? Now I'm confusing myself. So it was Kara, right?
Kara is Supergirl, yes.
Yes.
Kara Danvers, Kara Zor-El. And we actually had, I can't remember if it was one of our directors or one of our director of photography, one of our cinematographers that would always say Kara. It was our director. I don't want to call him out by name, and he's a dear friend of mine, but this director that directed a lot of episodes of Supergirl would always say Kara. We'd always be like, you've done, how many episodes of this show have you done? You have to know how to pronounce it by now.
I guess we all have blind spots, right? There are certain things that we just cannot change about whatever we perceive.
Yeah, you had some block in here
That's so funny. So you were doing Supergirl for 6 years.
Yes.
That's all, and 10 months a year, you said?
Yeah. A lot, and sometimes more because we did crossover episodes.
Oh, right, because there were so many different shows.
Yeah.
And then people do like to believe that casts are actually friends in real life. So it's probably going to make people giddy to know that, oh, that was your circle and you were friendly with people. Like, so you were friends during the year with everybody, I guess, right, while you were there.
Yes. And in a way, it ends up, especially when you're doing a show for that long, it really starts to feel familial and you're around each other more often than you are, a lot of times, than your families. So, I mean, that's not to say that it was always perfect. Like, buttons were pressed, but that's just being human.
Well, that's also families.
Exactly. And it was very familial. And, those people are going to be in my life forever, like Kyler and David married my husband and I, David Harewood. Oh. So it is very singular, that experience that you go through with a cast.
That's right. And you met your husband on the show, right?
I did.
So, okay, what was that like?
It was, it was wonderful. In short.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So you kind of sensed it? What, you reached something?
I had heard about him I don't know if I've ever told this story, but I'd heard about him for years and years and years because he had done a tour of Spring Awakening with a childhood friend of mine. And someone very close to me, when they were doing that tour long time ago, was like, oh, I think you guys would get along. So I'd known he had been in my awareness for a long, long, long time, before I'd even started a career. So I knew about him, and then, I had a feeling the second I met him.
Oh, so it was a she? Mm-hmm. She was right.
Yes.
I wonder what she knew about what she was seeing that you...
Yeah, I wonder. I've never asked her.
Huh. Yeah, I'd be curious. She had some sort of a sense of you two would get along.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you met him and you were like, oh, she was right. Like,
yeah, immediately we bonded over our love of musical theater, and we have a lot of similarities. We're very similar.
And were you the only two with the musical theater background on the show?
I think so. No, we had Jeremy Jordan with us as well, and he's Mr. Broadway.
So did he know you before? Like, did he know you from Glee?
Jeremy or Chris?
Chris.
Yes, and that's another thing. We kind of had a narrow missed chance before we met on Supergirl. He was testing for a role on Glee the same season that I was, so we were like in the same building, testing for different roles to try to get on Glee. I got the job, he didn't, and he ended up doing different things and being on Vampire Diaries. But we had all these like narrow missed connections until I like to think it was the perfect moment for us to meet.
Yeah. Everything was aligned. The stars aligned. But you were kind of destined anyway, it seems like.
It feels like it.
Right.
I kind of knew on a molecular level when I met him that it was...
You did?
Yeah.
So right away?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Again,
Mm-hmm.
it's this thing that you can't quite put your finger on, but you just know,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of life is like that.
Yeah, I think so
Or
too.
if you're kind of an
If you're
intuitive,
open to it.
yes, if you're open to
Mm-hmm.
it. So you're very, I think I like your perspective. Like you're very self-aware and you are a little bit analytical about things. Do you feel like that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because sometimes I feel that, and then other times I feel like a chicken with my head cut off, being like, what am I doing? But I like to think that I'm a Libra, and I like to think that I try to see both sides of everything or all sides of everything. Sometimes that gets in my way because I can be really indecisive. But yeah, I think maybe that harbors some self-awareness
Yeah.
and kind of just trying to see all perspectives.
Yeah, I think that's a gift, honestly. It's a skill also that you have probably honed over the years. Maybe you've gotten better at it. But I do think it's a good thing to go through life with. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think it's served me well in
Uh-huh.
certain situations, definitely.
Not all.
Not all, no,
Uh-huh.
but I think you know what I'll say is I think I do have something that I'm proud of in myself in this regard is that I feel like I have faith in the process of things and faith that like if you are open to life showing you what you need or teaching you or like harnessing opportunities in a way that you will grow, things will work out. I think I'm an optimist in that way.
Yes, definitely. That's a positive thing. I'm an optimist as well. And I do think that maybe we're born with it a bit, but we can also nurture that in life. And you can kind of turn yourself in that direction as well.
Yeah, I think it can be a choice.
Yeah, I think because our minds are so complex as humans, it's like we can be really bad for ourselves at times, but we can also turn it around and be very good for ourselves. You know what I mean? I'm getting
Yeah.
very like analytical and meta, but
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think the moments that we are not so good for ourselves are the moments where there's something we need to learn.
yeah, interesting. Yes, definitely.
That's what I tell myself to get through it, at least.
But that helps. That helps. Like one of the things that I like to do is if I get mad at myself for doing something wrong or whatever that I'm not happy with, I will tell myself as I'm going through it, okay, this did not go the way I wanted, but I'm going to learn from it. This is teaching me something. Like I am learning. It's okay. For next time, I'm not going to A, B, or C. So it's like I consciously try to do that. And I think that helps also not, it helps you from sinking in that spot
Yeah.
and drowning in that
And
spot.
wallowing.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so like you have to lick your wounds here and there, but then it's nice to be able to decide that you're going to pick yourself up and move on.
Absolutely.
This is making me think of that video, the video that you shared, which was amazing, by the way, because I told you I was a therapist, so the mental health thing is
Right.
really important for me. Is it okay if I ask you a little bit
course.
about the intimate partner violence?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you had an experience years ago. How long ago was it?
Now it was, like 10, 11 years ago. A long time ago.
And you found yourself in a relationship, and you thought it was a good relationship at first?
That's a complicated answer.
Oh, okay.
It was a period of massive change in my life and a very new situation that it was my introduction to Hollywood. I was brand new and never expected myself to be working in film and television. My original dream was Broadway, and so I was new to LA. I was brand new to Glee on this TV show, and like I didn't know any which way of where I was, what I was doing. Everything was new. All the people I was meeting were new. And that's a really vulnerable position for a young person, especially a young woman, I think. And so this relationship kind of descended on me, and I always was a little wary.
Oh, so there was
That little voice was telling me, like, this is maybe not where you want to go.
So you did, but then you kind of ignored it.
Yeah, I think because I was lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. So there are reasons why we do the things we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And even if it wasn't clear, and even if like now, years and years later, I still shake my head and I'm like, how did I end up in that situation? Uh, I think there's still, I'm not someone who's like, everything happens for a reason always, but I tell myself that I think that there was that season of my life. I certainly wouldn't be the person that I am today if it hadn't happened to me.
I think also, and I don't mean to say like you need to go through something to benefit everybody else, but I feel like because you were vocal about it, so there's a video that you filmed yourself sharing your experience, like lots of details about it. It was so open and so moving and so generous of you to do it. You put it on, I saw it on Instagram, and you think you put it on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And so anybody who would like to can see it, and I encourage everybody to watch it. You're about to say something. What?
No.
Oh, okay. I feel like it was a gift to so many people who were probably either in situations like that, had already been, know somebody who is, maybe could end up in a situation like that later. And I just, like, it benefited so many people. If you didn't open up about it, it wouldn't.
That was definitely part of the reasoning for telling it in the first place. Frankly, it didn't even really have anything to do with him. It was that when I was in that situation, I wasn't seeing anything like that. I wasn't seeing anything that was giving me hope. Even in terms of like narrative stories about IPV and domestic violence. Oddly enough, when I was in the situation, I was like seeking out those kinds of stories because I didn't want to feel like I was the only one, because there was so much shame in that. And I wasn't finding it anywhere. And I also was not lost on me the fact that I was playing a superhero, playing the woman of steel, who is supposed to be the strongest woman on earth. And in my private life, I was living a nightmare and was really not safe. And that just to me exemplified that it could literally happen to anyone. And even women, because I was that person that was like, oh, if anyone ever did that to me, I'd be gone in a heartbeat. I was that person. But I saw someone that was in a lot of pain. Just so happened that they took their pain out on me. And while that's completely unacceptable, and I'm so grateful that I'm out of that situation, I still carry empathy. You know, that never goes away. For me, it hasn't.
Yeah.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, it is true. A lot, unfortunately, is the way that it is. But right, and there are so many emotions involved. You're in a relationship with somebody who you care about, you think cares about you. He tells you he cares about you, and at the same time, he turns around and he's violent.
Right.
So it's like the messages that you're getting in your brain are all mixed up.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Very. Very.
So what was it went on for how long?
A couple years.
Couple years. And this is while you were filming Supergirl.
Yes.
And you didn't tell anybody?
No, and I suspect that people worried and had an idea, but I was very much keeping to myself about it.
How did you know that people might have suspected? Like, what were you observing?
I mean, there was evidence. You know, people were seeing things on my body that were concerning.
Yeah.
So that, I think I could just see when people would clock that. And, you know, another thing that I think a lot of people that are in relationships like that talk about is that you end up getting really good at being dishonest. And I could always clock when I could see people seeing when I was lying. because I'm not a very good flyer.
Yeah, even though you're an actor, right? You still,
Yeah.
right? That's something totally different when you're
Yes.
acting.
Yes.
Okay. So then you got yourself out of it. So there's somebody who confronted you, right? A friend of yours.
Yeah.
And that gave you the strength to get out of the relationship, right?
Yeah, it was almost like I hadn't been allowing myself to think that it was possible. And I was, I think, very lucky that I was then in a situation where a lot of people in that situation it's not safe for them to leave. But at that certain point, I was in a different city. It was a little more safe for me to extricate myself. And yeah, this friend kind of was responsible for opening the floodgates.
Thank God for friends
Yeah.
who are brave enough to
It was
say the
really
thing.
brave. And she was very, very nervous.
She was. Because she was probably afraid of it could have gone any way.
Yeah, I could have rejected it and completely disowned her.
Right.
Which I think happens.
Are you still friends today?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I figured, but yeah, okay, that's good. So shout out to her for doing that. And then how much later was it that you and Chris started to get involved?
I mean, it was not too much later. I was really lucky to have a very, very good therapist that I still see to this day.
Hooray for the good therapist.
Yeah, she's fantastic. So
why? What was it? What about her?
She just made me believe that my healing journey, that I wasn't broken. That like, even though I had just had a really horrific experience, she kind of didn't allow me to wallow in it. And she acknowledged and validated the fact that what I had gone through was really terrible. But we just focused on the fact that I was a survivor, and we did a lot. I mean, she just really got me to a healthy place where I was open to other people.
I'm so glad
healthy
to hear
relationships.
It. Yeah, that's so great. Okay, so now look at you. You've grown from it. You've helped other people. You're in this great relationship now. I mean, I'm assuming it's a great relationship.
It's a wonderful relationship.
So what makes it a wonderful relationship?
Communication.
Okay.
Yeah, respect. Chris is a fantastic communicator. He is very in touch with his emotions and very open with me about his feelings and accepting of mine, even when we have disagreements. Yeah, we just are kind of on the same page in that way.
Okay, so you're on the same page. Plus, you talk openly. So nobody's
about everything.
About everything. So you're always talking about all the stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
We do not let ourselves get afraid of any subject. And that's something that in my healing journey I've had to really overcome, is the fear of saying something that's going to upset a partner.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Because it's better. You're not doing the partner any favors by keeping it in.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like you have to be able to see that.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're worried about I don't want to upset him, but it'd be worse for him not to know.
Right.
And for you to keep it inside.
Yeah.
Okay. That's another good thing. Yes. You have learned a lot. You are like constantly learning, it seems like.
Yeah.
And you want to do that your whole life.
Definitely.
That's the way to go and the way to grow. That sounded corny. I never said that before. It just worked out like that.
I like the rhyming.
Thank you. But it's nice also, like, all these experiences do contribute to how you're able to raise your son also.
Absolutely.
That's all helpful for him to see because you're role models for him.
Try to be, yes.
Right. So, okay, so Chris was in a show, though, last year. So was he in New York and you were here?
No, we actually shot Girls on the Bus in New York as well. So the whole family
beautiful.
went to New York. Yeah.
Okay, wait. So how did that? Okay, that's a good topic. I do want to talk about that too. But so how was that then? You were lit at the same time?